So much to get into this evening. We're going to start with the champions Liverpool and their defence. Darmish, Mark Gay to Liverpool. Yes or no, do you think?
Can I go in the middle of that
you
at
can.
the moment? Talks are ongoing between Liverpool and Crystal Palace over the signing of the England international Mark Gahey. This isn't an easy deal to do for a few reasons, hence why I can't say 100% yes or 100% no. Not least the kind of transfer fee that Crystal Palace would want compared to the transfer fee that Liverpool would be prepared to pay for Mark Gahey. But hanging over Crystal Palace is the contract situation. He has entered the final year of his contract, and you would guess that would have an impact on the price. Anyway, what Liverpool would be prepared to pay because of that contract situation. Then you've got to add what Gahey's mentality would be. It looks like a no-brainer. Crystal Palace to Liverpool, you're going to be playing for the champions. You're going to be playing Champions League football as well. But there is a World Cup in the summer. I think we're going to be talking about that a lot in the remaining days of this transfer window when we're talking about particular players who might be wanting to make a move. If he stays at Crystal Palace, he's captain. He is almost guaranteed to be playing week in, week out. Thomas Tuchel will know what he can do week in, week out. He would probably need to get assurances from Liverpool, if he was to go there, that he's going to get guaranteed game time. They probably could offer him a reasonable amount of game time simply because of the number of competitions they're in, but then Crystal Palace are in the same amount of competitions as well. So it's all going to depend on what kind of assurances he gets and whether he'd be satisfied with that because of that World Cup that's coming up after the season finishes.
Crystal Palace fans would love to have him for one more season. Look at what he's done over the course of the last year alone. When Newcastle came in, they really wanted to try and sign him. Crystal Palace wanted somewhere near £70 million. We understand now they'd take something between £35 and £40 million. And you think when they achieved what they did last season, winning their first major trophy, it's probably worth it in that way to get European football next season. But it's really important to know what Steve Parish had to say on Sunday after they lifted the Community Shield. Really interesting this. He said there needs to be a new contract or conclusion of some kind, because for a player of that calibre to leave on a free is a problem. I think it's uncertain. I think it's very unlikely that you'd say at this stage Mark Gay signs a new contract with Crystal Palace, because he's in a situation where a number of big clubs across Europe would love to try and sign him as a free agent next summer, and the contract for that would be very sizable. I'm not saying he's guided by money. I think he's guided by what he thinks is best for his career. They've been incredible for one another, Crystal Palace and Mark Gay. But when Steve Parish talks about a contract or conclusion, the conclusion is he gets sold in this transfer window, because Palace can't be a club that lets somebody like that, when last year they could have got maybe 70 million for him, to leave for free next summer, just 2 years after turning down that money.
If he wanted to stay though and said, no, I'm sitting here, there's nothing Palace can do about it, is there?
There's nothing they can do about it. And when players sign these contracts, he signed a 5-year contract at Crystal Palace. Crystal Palace gave him that 5-year contract. Clearly, over the course of the last couple of years, they've been trying to extend his terms. But as a player, you can do whatever you want. He's got a contract situation whereby he can sign a new contract. He is well within his rights. It would be quite unpopular, but I think, bear in mind what he's done for Crystal Palace, the fans would accept him if he decided to play one more season and left as a free agent. From a business point of view, total disaster for Crystal Palace. But another season of Mark Gay, you can understand why he'd want him.
Tell us about the fact that Gay's not the only defender that Liverpool are looking at.
Liverpool are in advanced talks to sign the Parma central defender. He's a teenager, Giovanni Leone. Now, the fee being discussed, understood to be around 25 to 30 million pounds. Both clubs are now negotiating the final details of a potential move. He's just 18 years of age, and he's a very different profile of player to Mark Gay because of the lack of experience he's got compared to Mark Gay, a fully fledged England international. And it's important to note that these two deals are very separate. It's not a case of if they sign Leone, they won't sign Mark Gay. They're independent of one another. The pursuit of Leone isn't expected to be affecting the pursuit of Mark Gay. Ideally, Liverpool would like to sign both.
Tell us about him. How good is he?
He's got the potential to be very good. He's got a very high ceiling, but he is very inexperienced. He's only started 14 matches in Serie A, Italian football's top division. He only joined Parma from Sampdoria last summer. The fee was around €5 million, but you can see with what Liverpool are potentially going to pay in this transfer window, there's a huge amount of potential there, and his stats really do back it up, because when you rank him compared to other 18-year-olds and players below the age of 18 across Europe's top 5 divisions. He ranks extremely highly, very high up, if not the top, when it comes to headed clearance, interceptions and aerial duels. As I mentioned, he started just 14 matches in Serie A, 17 matches in total in the top division in Italy. You'd think this is a player that's been signed for the future, and you'd think a lot of the thinking here would be give him a couple of years working with Virgil van Dijk. Let's see where he's at next year, the year after. Is he ready to step into the shoes of Virgil van Dijk and the other defenders that Liverpool have right now? I don't think you'd see him play a huge number of minutes in the Premier League this season if he was to sign, but he's a player with a huge amount of potential, and Liverpool want to get him now ahead of other clubs. OK, so whether he plays minutes or not, Darmesh, Liverpool are talking about bringing centre-backs into the club. What does that mean for Ibrahima Konate?
Again, this looks like a pretty complex situation as well, as far as Liverpool are concerned. It looks like at this moment in time, Ibrahima Konate and Virgil van Dijk would be the first choice centre-back partnership at Liverpool. They were together for the majority of last season, and Liverpool won the Premier League title. Leone, as James was alluding to there, seems to be one for the future. He can play a number of games as a young player, but learning off the likes of Konate and Virgil van Dijk. However, we've been talking about Mark Gahey and how his situation has been complicated by his contract situation. The same can be said for Ibrahima Konate, because he too has entered the final year of his contract at Anfield. They have had talks, Liverpool, with Konate and his representatives over a new deal. So far, those talks have failed to find a resolution. So the question now is, are Liverpool prepared to allow him to leave for free next summer, or would they consider offers for Ibrahima Konate if Mark Gahey and Leone were both to come to Anfield? But as it stands, our information is that Liverpool have no intention of selling Ibrahima Konate in this transfer window. The other possibility, when you look at the contract situations of both Gahey and Konate, if Gahey feels, well, I know I'm guaranteed first-team football for the rest of the season at Palace, he could stay at Palace. This might be unpopular with Steve Parish, I know, but he could stay at Palace and he's within his rights to do so, as James mentioned. And he leaves for free next summer, possibly to Liverpool. Konate stays at Liverpool, sees out the remainder of his contract, and then leaves for another club for free. Because if Liverpool were to go into the market and bring in Mark Gahey for £35 to £40 million, which we think is the valuation, and Ibrahima Konate remains at the club but doesn't sign a new contract, then they're going to be bringing in a player for relatively big money and losing their first-choice central defender next summer for no money at all. It just feels like at this stage that Mark Gahey is key to everything that is going to happen with regard to the central defensive department at Liverpool. Whatever he decides and whatever Liverpool decide with Palace is going to dictate what happens to the rest.
Do you know what? Arne Slot is going to get asked some questions, isn't he, in his media conference tomorrow. We will bring that to you, 9 o'clock with us, Sky Sports News.